Well, good morning, everybody. It's Amy from Swisher Family Farm. I'm back here again in front of my greenhouse, getting ready to go through the garden. Wanted to talk to you a little bit about some things that you have to do every day in your garden to make sure that you have a successful garden. And some of these things you may have to do more than once a day, just because of how things grow and how certain things can get out of hand very quickly. One of the things that I do every morning before I start work, and then on the weekends every morning, is I go through the garden and I pull weeds. I deadhead any flowers that we have in here that we use for companion planting or for cover crop. And I also check for pests. I check for disease, I check for pests. If at the beginning when the plants were smaller, if they had any diseased leaves on them, those come off immediately, so that the rest of the plant isn't affected. So what I wanted to do today, it is a little bit later than I normally do this. You can see that the sun is quite bright out right now. I'm usually doing this around dawn, just to make sure I get, that's when it's easier for me to find the pests because the dew is still on the plants. So I am getting a little bit later start, but we had some stuff to do this morning, so I couldn't get out here first thing. But it's something that you have to do every day. And the reason you have to do this every day is it makes it much easier to keep up on. Even waiting a couple of days can have a significant impact on how many weeds that you have to pull and what you have to do to keep your plants up. I mean, if you had one hornworm and you waited a couple of days to come out and check for hornworms, they could have overtaken a plant by then. And then you would lose it. So it's so important to do this every single day. And I'm going to show you an area of the garden. Justin and his dad refer to it as the back 40. I don't know why, that's just what they call it. But they refer to it as the back 40. And sometimes I don't always have time to go down there before I have to start work. I have to be on my computer working. You know, I work from home. I have to be on my computer working by a certain time. So sometimes I don't always have time to go through the garden, do my weeding, take care of the chickens, cook breakfast, and then get ready for work. I don't always have time to do the back 40. And I'm going to show you why it's important to do all of it. You're going to see that today. And it's my fault, I admit it. So I'm going to do a better job of making sure that I go down there every single day. I maybe will go down there first and then come and do the garden and then swap the next day. So if I run out of time, I'm not doing it, I'm not missing anything. But our garden this year, we have had hardly any weeds that I've really had to worry about because I come out here every single day and go through the garden every single day, and I pull weeds and I check plants and I pull off dead leaves and just take care of the garden every single day. And it's so important to do that so that you your efforts are not in vain, so that you have a bountiful harvest. So with that being said, I'm going to take you on a quick tour of the garden and kind of walk you through what I do every morning. I have a little bucket that I go around with. It's one of those 5-gallon water jugs. Justin cut the top off so I can use that. I use that basically as my trash bin, and I throw all the excess debris in there and then throw it in the trash. I don't want to put weeds in the compost pile because they may die, but they could also come back when you use the compost somewhere else in the garden. So I don't want to put those in. Not everything can be eaten by the chickens, so to be safe, I don't put it in the compost pile. And then we also have a surprise that I'm going to show you as I go around through the garden, because we have no idea what this is. Justin has a theory and I have a theory, but we're not sure what it's going to be, so we'll stay tuned on that. So I'm going to get started going on my garden tour. Alright, so here is the container that I use to take all the weeds out. I put those in here and it goes in the trash. Like I said before, you don't want to put weeds in your compost pile. If you do pull a plant when you're done harvesting it, you can put that in your compost pile, but I definitely do not put any weeds in there. So I'm going to go around and show you how I weed in the garden and why it's so important. So if you look down in the bed, you can see that there are no weeds down in there. There may be one or two popping up. This right here is lavender, so it's not a weed, definitely not a weed. We have some marigolds in there. I'll go through and deadhead those and look to see if there's any weeds down below. At this time I also lift up the plants and look underneath the leaves just to see if there's any disease starting, any eggs, and if there is, I pull them off. It's so important to do that. Like I said, we try to do this first thing in the morning so we don't get, so it's not in the heat of the day, but when the dew is still fresh on the leaves, that's when it's best to pull any pests off. We've already started preparing it for our fall garden. And you can see in this row, there are no weeds right here because I come out here every day. Unfortunately, we had some marigolds here that were store-bought, didn't quite make it. But there aren't any other weeds. There just aren't. When the plants are young, you can go ahead and go through, and when you go in here, you can pull the suckers out. Once the plants get past a certain point, you don't necessarily have to pull those out anymore. I always keep my handy dandy cutters with me so that if I see something I need to cut out, I can do that. You know, when the plants are small and you can pinch them with your fingernails, that's okay. But once they get past a certain size, you really need to use the cutters. Otherwise, you may not pinch it all the way through. When you pull on it, it's going to damage the plant. You don't want to do that. Earlier this week when I've gone through here, I've put stakes in to help keep the tomato plants up. We do have some garden twine, and we're going to start tying them to the cattle panels to make sure that they stay upright and don't fall over. But again, over here, I don't see any weeds. Also noticed that I have on one plastic glove and not a glove on the other hand. One of the reasons for that is as I go around to the onions, I like to scrape the dirt around so the onions have room to bulb out. You got to be careful and don't do it to where they fall over, but the soil also can't be so compact around them that they don't get a chance to grow. So the onions really like a sandy soil. So the sandy loam that we got this year was really nice. I'm going to go down here through our cauliflower and onion patch here. Once the leaves get big enough in like the cauliflower where they are covering the ground, it's really hard for the weeds to grow. The weeds really need sunlight. So that makes it easier to keep the weed control down. That's why a lot of gardeners do ground cover of flowers in their garden to keep the weeds down, because the ground cover, it does several things. You can mulch, that'll help keep the weeds down. The other thing that it does is it keeps moisture in the soil and keeps the soil from heating up and cooking the roots. We do have a shade cloth over the tomatoes, but that mulch will also help that. Also, ground cover helps that. And make sure that if you put ground cover down, like marigolds, those do not compete with the tomatoes for nutrients at all. So it's important to find a flower or a plant that you're going to use for ground cover that does not compete with the nutrients for the tomatoes. Otherwise, you might have a good, nice plant and no fruit. So it's important to make sure that you do your research for companion planting. said before, I was going to show you a surprise. So we had a volunteer plant. It's some sort of squash, watermelon, that kind of plant. But we're not sure what it is. Justin thinks it's some kind of pumpkin. I think it's a watermelon. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. But you can see, look at this thing, it's huge. It's over an inch long. It's probably, I don't know, 18 inches in circumference right now. And it's huge. It is starting to get ridges like a pumpkin would, but it's long like a watermelon. So we're not sure what it is. It is a volunteer plant. We've never planted anything like that on the homestead. So it had to come from a bird dropping it. So we don't know quite what it is, but we'll see. And we'll keep you posted. But look at the size of these leaves. They're bigger than my head. I mean, it's just crazy. We didn't know they were there. Alright, I'm just going to go through the rest of the garden and just go through and weed. And I should be done in about 5 minutes. So I went through the rest of the garden. I did speed it up, so it's not 5 minutes for you, but it was 5 minutes for me. So, I mean, in the mornings, it takes me 15 minutes maybe to go through the whole garden, pull any weeds that I see, deadhead the marigolds, and soon enough, we're gonna be harvesting. 15 minutes out of your day to go and take care of your garden to keep the weeds down is so much better than just being a weekend gardener. Like I said, 15 minutes. If you wait till the weekend, you could be spending hours out there doing, pulling the weeds, looking for pests. Your pests are going to get out of control. If you get diseases or blight or anything like that on your plants, they're going to get out of control, and it's going to be really hard to overcome that. So it's so important to go out and look at your garden every single day. So I'm going to take you down to the back 40 now and show you what happens to your garden if you don't do this every day. And it's to the point now where some of the weeds are overgrown where the beans are planted, that I'm afraid to pull them out because I'm afraid that their roots will have intertwined with the beans. So if I pull out the weeds, I'm going to pull out the beans. So I'm just kind of going to let them go. And you saw a video earlier where Justin took care of the weeds by the corn by tilling them under. So that's what we did. He tilled them and then raked it to make sure that they didn't grow back. So I'm going to take you down there and show you that. We've already harvested some squash and zucchini. Unfortunately, some of our end plants of squash and zucchini down there have gotten squash bugs, so they're starting to die off. But we have nice big plants in here that don't have any squash bugs. The diatomaceous earth that we have sprayed, or poofed, I guess, the powder that Justin has put out works very well. The squash bugs don't like it at all. So we did find 2 or 3 squash bugs on these plants, did the diatomaceous earth, haven't seen another one since then. And you do have to reapply the diatomaceous earth after a rain or a heavy water, because if you get the water on the plants, it's going to wash off the powder. So you have to make sure that you reapply it, otherwise your pests are going to come right back. But that's in another video. So we're going to go down and check out the back 40. Alright guys, so this is the area. We are to the west of our storage container that you can see outside the garden area. And this is kind of our test area. We wanted to see what could grow here. We do have some additional squash and zucchini. We tried them in the raised beds. We've also put them down here in mounds. We wanted to see which one would be more, we would get a better harvest from. And honestly, it's hard to tell the difference. We've had quite a few large, like look at the size of this one. We've had several this size from both here and in the garden. So, same with the squash. And they taste delicious. You can see down there some of them are getting yellow leaves. Those are the ones that are getting eaten by the squash beetles. So we've had squash and zucchini here. We have watermelon and cantaloupe. This row is watermelon. You can see we have 5 mounds of watermelon. We do have a couple of small watermelon down there. Justin's going to be coming around with the mower to mow the grass around the watermelon. But these are the cantaloupes. And about the only thing that you can plant next to a watermelon is cantaloupe. And we love cantaloupe. Next time we probably won't plant as many plants because you can see there's a whole bunch of flowers on there. We won't eat cantaloupe that much, but we will eat some cantaloupe. We do have corn. The corn is not very tall and it is already tasseled out at the top. So it is unlikely we're going to get any corn from it this year. And unfortunately we've seen a lot of farmers in our area that their corn is 4 feet tall or less. That's already starting to tassel at the top, which is unusual. Not sure why it's happening because we haven't really had a hot summer yet this year. Today is like maybe the 4th day that it's been 90 degrees. So, and you can see this bed, I did a video on this earlier. And I did these beans down here, pulled up the dirt, put in potting soil, and then mixed it with the dirt that was there. But I haven't come down here very much and there's a lot of grass. So I did get some beans. We've harvested some beans and hopefully we're going to eat those in the next day or so for dinner. We have green and yellow beans, but the grass is kind of overtaking it. And like I said, I'm worried about the roots intermingling, and if I pull out the grass, is it going to pull out the beans? Over here, this is our potato patch. We planted several different varieties of potato. And you can see they've already flowered, they're starting to die. So we'll be digging those up shortly to see what kind of a harvest we get. We're not sure. These are new potatoes that we tried this year. And a couple of them are, they have red potatoes, and then we had a rainbow variety that had purple, golden, and red. So I'm excited to try those and see how they came out. But again, you can see the weeds have really kind of overtaken them. We really kind of left this area alone down here. We put the hay over the potato mounds and then mounded it up again. And then we're just gonna see what happens with the potatoes. Hopefully we could just pull the plant up and the potatoes will come with it, because we didn't dig them way down in the ground. We just kind of mounded hay up and then kept putting hay on it so it would make a mound. So we'll see. There'll be a video coming on that shortly. But now you can see why it's so important to come down and weed every single day. Alright, welcome back to the Swisher Family Farm. I am finished doing my garden walkthrough. There's a reason I do it first thing in the morning and then as the sun is going down. You know, today I mentioned we had some errands to run, we had to go to town. So we did that before I got started in the garden. And by the time I got started in the garden, it was already almost 11 o'clock. By the time I got finished, about 11:30, the heat index was 101 today. So we try not to work outside when it's like that. Heat exhaustion, heat stroke, it's very serious. You know, it can affect people very quickly. And I started to get really warm. Because I'm so fair-skinned, when I'm hot or overheated, you can see it on my face very easily, and so my face was red and blotchy. And Justin was mowing the yard and he comes over and he's like, "You need to go inside right now." So I did. I went inside, drank some water, got some water for him, and then came out later and finished the rest of my chores when the sun wasn't beaming directly down on us. But you know, now it's still kind of warm outside, probably around 90. It's been super hot today, but it's the end of June. That's to be expected. But this is why I do my walkthrough first thing in the morning. Oftentimes when I do my walkthrough, there's still dew on the plants. Probably, I would say every day but today when I walk through the garden and do what I need to do in here, there is still dew on the plants. So I wanted to show you in my video today why it's so important to walk through your garden every single day, at least once a day. You have to do that. Otherwise, there are things that can attack your plants that can take hold in 24 hours. And if you even miss one day, your tomatoes or any of your other plants, they could get disease, they could get an infestation of pests. There could be a wide variety of things. Birds can come in and steal your fruit, so you have to figure out other things. So that is my tip for the day in the garden. Make sure that you do walk through every single day. Your garden is not going to wait on you. If you only garden on the weekends, you're missing out on other things. This is my zen out here, to come out here, do my gardening, do my walkthrough, pull weeds, and then go in and start work. And I'm nice and calm and everything before I go into work. So thank you again for stopping by. This is Amy from the Swisher Family Farm. We appreciate all of our subscribers. We're slowly climbing up there. Can't believe it. But we do appreciate all of our subscribers. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, please do give it a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. It helps push our video to other viewers who might be interested in the same content. If you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button at the end. If you'd like to hear more content from us, please hit the notification bell. When we post new videos, you'll get a notification that we posted new material. So again, this is Amy from Swisher Family Farm. Thanks for stopping by.